Malcolm's amazing, by the way. He's a tough act to follow. Thank you all for having me here tonight. I was driving here, and I have to say I was like listening to some songs and looking at the beautiful foliage. I actually went to college in Pennsylvania. I went to college in Philadelphia. And so it's just really nice to be home. It was some of my most formidable years. And it was just such beautiful country. And it really, I was talking to some of my staff is here, Molly, and I was looking around and I was driving through these towns. And it was such an amazing reminder just of who we are in the fabric of society in America. And who we are as the working class, and how, when you're living in the DC bubble sometimes, you forget about that. And I think it pulled at my heartstrings specifically today because I'm thinking about what's at stake in this election and what's at stake in terms of democracy for all of us, not just one man. So I want to start by acknowledging your dedication in this room, because each of you is playing an important role right now, and we need you. It's all hands on deck. And I say this because as a Republican for Harris, I find myself on stage at a Democratic event. I'm very proud of that. I grew up in El Paso, Texas, in a very conservative Catholic family. I was raised to believe that faith, community, and hard work are the cornerstones of a good life. Fort Bliss is one of the largest military bases in the country. It made me very patriotic. That's the community that I grew up surrounded with. These are the values that made me a Republican. My values haven't changed, but it's those values that make me so proud to be supporting Kamala Harris today. We don't have to agree on every single issue, but one thing we do agree on is protecting our freedoms. That is critical. We've got to stand by each other on that. So I served in the Trump administration. It was my job to help identify and respond to domestic and international threats to America's security. I know firsthand every single day that our national security professionals serve to protect the American people, regardless of politics. They don't care if a city has a Democratic or Republican mayor. If there was a terrorist threat, a natural disaster, or any other sort of crisis, we were going to help to work to keep our American citizens safe. But I've also seen up close what it looks like when leaders take the opposite approach. When I first joined Vice President Pence's staff, it was a profound honor. I served as his Homeland Security and Counterterrorism Advisor. We did the important work to stop the bad actors, like so many others that served in the community with me, and many other White House staffers. But we, like all of you Americans, we were failed. We were failed by the man sitting in the Oval Office. I was in those rooms. I saw firsthand the reckless decision-making, the chaos, the chaotic disregard for truth, and most disturbingly was the personal ambition being put ahead of the safety and security of all of you. When it came to disaster relief, this is a man who sat on these disaster declarations. He would sit on them for days. If there was a California wildfire, oh, that's a blue state. Don't give him any money. That's what he said to the head of FEMA. I was in that meeting. Wow. So you know what we did? We went and pulled the voting data and said, hey, Orange County actually voted for you. A majority of them voted for you. That's when he finally released the aid. Wow. Now I say this because here we are, we're trying to respond to a crisis. The last thing we need is to be sitting around having these conversations with each other about, okay, how do we strategize to get Donald Trump to do the right thing for America right now? All right, so you take left, I go right. I mean, what is this, like quarterbacking like Monday Night Football? No. It's Americans' lives. When it came to the COVID pandemic, which was devastating for many of us, for all of us, it was send supplies to the blue states. No, don't do that. New York, that was ground zero again. Dr. Fauci was sitting in the meetings. He was like, they're telling me they're not getting the supplies. I'm talking to the emergency room doctors. They're saying they're not sending it. Oh, well, that's Cuomo. That's right. Yeah, he was sending them to his friend Putin. Like everyone else, I watched with horror on January 6th as Donald Trump encouraged insurgents, these people, to storm the Capitol in an effort to block the peaceful transfer of power. I worried about my former boss's well-being. I was sick to my stomach watching the TV that day, wondering if he was going to survive. And I just sat there and I kept thinking, how are we in a world where the President of the United States is putting his own vice president in danger? And he doesn't care. He didn't care. We've just seen the reporting where he said, so what? I mean, I don't care what your politics are. This is not who we are as a country. Right. It's not the America I recognize. As a national security official, I swore an oath to uphold the Constitution. It was abhorrent to watch a man, day in and day out, ignore that oath, because it was really truly about him. And I can't stress that enough. It's not hyperbole. So here I am. I've made it my mission in life to speak out about the dangers of Donald Trump. Because the stakes are too high to remain silent. This isn't just a political decision. It's a commitment to safeguarding our democracy and ensuring a brighter future for all Americans. As a conservative, I've been welcomed by Vice President Harris as an endorser and, more importantly, as a voice in the conversation on issues that matter deeply to me and to many of you. Issues like foreign policy, immigration, border security, keeping our communities safe, and reproductive health. The Vice President has listened to me, and she's shown a genuine willingness to engage conservatives across the country. She understands that our nation's strength lies in the diversity of thought, its ability to come together for the common good. Donald Trump can't process that. He doesn't even know where to begin. He doesn't know the word bipartisanship. It's about me. Actually, it's not even about being a Republican, because, I get called a rhino a lot. The only rhino around is Donald Trump. Right. So we're at a crossroads right now. Regardless of our party affiliation, we have to choose the path that strengthens democracy and that strengthens us. We have to choose that over this man that threatens it. Donald Trump and MAGA Republicans, let me be clear, this movement is bigger than just that one man, represent a clear danger to our democratic institutions. Yes. He's openly promised revenge against those that oppose him. Yeah. He's threatening military action, and he'll do it. I've been in the meetings where he's actually said that he wanted to shoot Americans, where he said he was going to use the military against them. I watched General Milley, Secretary Mark Esper, who was the Secretary of Defense at the time, sit there in the aftermath of a meeting, having a huddle outside of the Oval Office, looking at each other going, what are we going to do? And at the end of the day, just remember, he is the commander-in-chief. Talk about having your morals and your ethics tested every single day. That's what happened to many of us. And then it was a question of, I get this question a lot, and I understand it. I completely understand the reaction of that. I get the question of like, why did you stay? How could you serve there? What took you so long to leave? And it's because I knew that if I left, the person that would come after me would be a complete loyalist. And I was scared. I was scared of what was going to happen in the aftermath of that. I mean, I watched, many people. I mean, you're talking about The Apprentice. This was like The Apprentice White House edition. It was like, how do you survive? Except there were like real world consequences at stake.
Yes.
And it was appalling to see people who were telling the truth, who were saying, hey, we got a problem with Russia. They're interfering. They're foreign adversaries interfering in our elections. They're a threat to us. And they got fired for it. I mean, I watched a Navy SEAL admiral who's been a mentor for most of my life and career get fired just for telling the truth during a briefing, an intelligence briefing. I've never seen that throughout my career, and I've worked under Republican and Democratic administrations. It doesn't compute that a president doesn't want to hear about Putin. Well, now we know it was because he's too busy being best friends with someone like that. That's his ally. We still having these conversations. Like, what are they talking about? Is he showing the Mar-a-Lago classified documents? Is he's like, hey, check this out. Let me tell you about this. I mean, never mind the fact that there are lives at risk. Right? There are people's lives in those documents that are at risk. There are people serving in the military, overseas intelligence officers that he's compromising. But he doesn't think about that because he doesn't have the capacity to, because it's about him. Now we've got Project 2025. Yeah. I saw the first draft of Schedule F. That order is the plan to purge the federal government and fill the government with loyalists. Now, I know there's some government-connected people here. Maybe you don't have a connection to government, but I can tell you that that is incredibly dangerous. Because you can judge the bureaucracy, you can judge, what's going on. But I will say that purging the expertise in the federal government to replace blind loyalists in positions that are going to affect policy.
The dictatorship.
Exactly. I mean, it's not in, like, Project 2025, I tell people this, it's got something for everyone. Like, if you're interested, I mean, pick your poison, there it is. It's reproductive rights, if you care about that. I mean, for me, I grew up, watching Ronald Reagan. I am a traditional, limited government conservative, strong on foreign policy. That's what makes me conservative leaning. That plan is complete government overreach. I mean, they're talking about tracking miscarriages. That's frightening. Like, that's not your business. That's between our doctors, our families. That's healthcare. And that plan is talking about gutting the Department of Education. I'm a product of the public schools. Right. I went to public school my entire life. I'm proud of that. I mean, I watch Sesame Street every single day. Actually, there's a cute display down here, the square. I was down there in a little downtown. There's a Sesame place, and my assistant's like, go ahead, go stand next to Oscar the Grouch. I was like, thank you. Big words. We got a lot to talk about. So, I mean, I say that because, like, when you look at this plan, it's horrifying.
Yes.
And it's all real because they've been writing it for a very long time. It started during the first Trump administration.
Yes.
I saw the draft of the Schedule F order. I was told to keep my head down. I had a conversation with General Kellogg, who served as National Security Advisor to Pence, and I was the Homeland Advisor. And he said, don't worry about it, just keep your head down. I was like, keep my head down. I'm doing my job every single, what do you mean keep my head down? Like, and then I saw it. They were getting rid of people left and right on the National Security Council. Experts replacing military officers who serve regardless of political affiliation. They serve in a nonpartisan way. Let me be very clear about that. It really is about the country. Public service over anything else. But Donald Trump doesn't understand that. He doesn't have the capacity to understand that because he doesn't know what service means. So as a daughter of a lifelong truck driver, I know, I see, I've been watching the economy. I know that's front and center for us and a lot of people across the country. I grew up in a very middle class family. On my way here, I was telling you, as we were driving, I still listen to country music, and I was listening to 40-hour week for a living by this band called Alabama. I don't know if you're one, some of you might know them. I'm aging myself a little bit, but I was listening to it. Don't worry, I'm not gonna sing. Molly told me not to sing. She was like, please don't, I already heard you sing it once before. And I was thinking about the communities, and I was thinking to myself when I would travel to these rallies with Donald Trump and Mike Pence, he would sit there